The story starts with a young man named Kinji Ninomiya. He looked down on the wage workers who worked hard every day for their money. Then we learned that he put all his money into Bitcoin. As a result, he became a Bitcoin millionaire and invested his money to build 3 skyscrapers. He became a top G and never planned to work again in his life. Suddenly, a black hole appeared in his apartment, and he was teleported to another world. After that, he looked around and was confused after seeing the monsters in front of him. A few months passed, and Beza, the director of Raha Demonite Mining Corporation, made an announcement that they need to work even harder. We then learned that he was teleported to a magical world full of monsters and dungeons. But with modernization, the world changed dramatically. As a result, the ore found in dungeons was used as energy sources. Then we see Nomiya mining, and his coworker was losing his mind because Surreal has been working for 3 months without taking a day off. Suddenly, the team leader of his group showed up, and he was angry because Nomiya could only reach 15% of his quota. Nomiya hated being exploited in this world. He got tired of working 16 hours every day and started crying. Meanwhile, a guy named Wannabe was being yelled at by his supervisor. Nomiya couldn't help him, and he decided not to intervene in this conversation. Suddenly, he dropped a gold coin on the floor that he needed to buy food. The coin rolled into a small hole, and Nomiya discovered an opportunity to change his life. In the night, he was looking for Wannabe and invited him out for a drink. Wannabe told him that their team leader was mad because he wasn't at work this afternoon. Then Nomiya told his story that he is 20 million in debt because his first business failed. He said he tried to make money through drop shipping, but it didn't work. As a result, he ended up in the mining company and worked like a slave. He planned to become a top G again and explained Wannabe about his plan to get rich. The following morning, he was almost scolded, but he asked if he could go on a prospecting tour. Nomiya's team leader was happy about this and wished him good luck. Then we learned that the prospecting tour is a slang term that means a small group goes deeper into the dungeon. A short time later, Wannabe said that it was very dangerous down in the dungeon. Nomiya replied that he didn't have to worry, and he showed him a hidden portal. He said that this passage is safe and that they can get to the 3rd floor of the dungeon. After arriving on the 3rd floor, there was demonite everywhere, which was worth twice as much as the demonite on the 1st floor. After that, they started mining, and Wannabe was grateful that Nomiya gave him this great chance. Nomiya replied that he got top G potential, and he feels that they will make a lot of money as a team. A few hours later, they collected a large amount of expensive ore, and they were planning to go back. Suddenly, a dangerous monster appeared who planned to eat them. They were attacked, but Nomiya and his friend managed to dodge it. Then they hid from the monster, and Nomiya thought he was going to die. He didn't want to die, and he came up with a plan. After that, he pushed Wannabe, and he said that he will be his bait. As a result, Wannabe was caught by the giant monster, and he thought that Nomiya ran away. Before Wannabe could be eaten, Nomiya appeared. He learned that the monster's name was Rim. Then he made Rim an offer to protect them from other monsters, and in exchange, he would get her delicious food. Rim found Nomiya interesting, and Nomiya used all his business skills to convince her. Rim accepted the deal, and she turned into a cute girl. Nomiya was happy to have survived, and he sensed that this deal would change his life. A few weeks later, he was praised by his team leader because his results were insane. Meanwhile, Nomiya was angry because he lost more money on food for Rim because she was eating more like Nick avocado. Following this, Nomiya decided to make more money, and he went back into the dungeon. Wannabe noticed that all over this area were magic items. Suddenly, Rim said that this area is the toilet for Rim and the other monsters. He was shocked by this, and Rim told him that she is hungry. Wannabe decided to cut off his tail, and Nomiya learned that his tail will grow back. He started acting weird after that, and Rim explained to him that he is hypnotized. Nomiya learned that it was caused by the magic item, and he used it to hypnotize his coworkers. Nomiya thought he was Jeff Bezos and took advantage of the sleepwalker staff to brainwash his coworkers. Then Wannabe said it is wrong to brainwash their coworkers. Nomiya replied that he doesn't have to worry because he will erase their memories of the end of this day. As a result, Nomiya made a huge amount of money, and his co-workers were enslaved. In the evening, Nomiya tried to enjoy a hot bath, but Rim peed in the tub. In the meantime, his co-workers were wondering why they are feeling so tired. In the following day, Nomiya was motivated to make a lot of money, and one of his co-workers didn't want to work anymore. As a result, Nomiya used the magic item again to hypnotize his co-workers. Wannabe told him that her co-workers are at their limit. He didn't listen to his friend and ordered Rim to increase the power. Suddenly, the sleepwalker staff fell apart, and his co-workers were no longer hypnotized. Nomiya's co-workers came to their senses, and they were very angry with him. He was beaten up by his co-workers, and Rim was hungry. She tried to eat Nomiya, and his plan to get rich and become a top G failed. In the days that followed, Nomiya went to work and was despised by his co-workers. Then he found a letter, and he wondered why Wannabe thought that he will die. The reason for this was that they were transferred to Exploration's Division Group 8. Later, Nomiya was almost killed by SL, and Wannabe tried to save him. Nomiya hated working for this terrible company. Then we learned that the Raha mining company is divided into many different divisions. Exploration is the core of its corporate revenue. For this reason, there are also different groups that have specific tasks in the dungeon, such as killing monsters and expanding the mining areas. Nomiya was transferred to Group 8, which was responsible for supporting those who fought on the front lines. They must clean up mob monsters, and they were viewed as dropouts. Nomiya didn't plan on spending the rest of his life cleaning mobs. And Wannabe was depressed. Then he tried to cheer up his friend and said that he can't give up his dream of becoming rich. Suddenly, Wannabe was attacked by a mimic, and he said that he can't breathe. Nomiya looked for a potion that could save his friend. He didn't find something useful and decided to use their magic bag to attack the mimic. In the evening, he was scolded by his superior, and Nomiya learned that he had to pay off the magic bag with the items it contained. As a result, Nomiya was broke again and had no money to buy food. He still needed to feed Rim and stole a garbage bag full of leftover food. Rim started to eat the leftovers, but she suddenly stopped because she smelled something delicious. She found marbled meat that Nomiya bought for a cheap price. He tried to stop Rim from eating his precious marbled meat, but she kicked him into the wall. Later, Nomiya was back at work and was ordered to refill the treasure boxes. Afterwards, he entered the dungeon, and he was completely exhausted. Suddenly, he met a guy from Group 3 who was running towards the exit. He was relieved after seeing Nomiya and planned to use him as food for some monsters. A few moments later, huge ants appeared behind them, and the two started running away. Nomiya learned that they were dungeon ants and Group 3 had failed to eliminate them. Following this, Nomiya spotted a river, and he jumped into it. He saved Shin and planned to use the phone. Nomiya tried to call for help, but his superiors thought he was lying. Nobody believed him that monsters were on their way to the surface because they usually never leave their territory. Then the dungeon ants were on their way to eat them. He didn't intend to die and tried to find a way out. At the last second, he got a brilliant idea and looked at a blue box. A few moments later, we see that Nomiya's plan worked. He mixed dungeon ant feet with a transformation potion. As a result, they were able to transform into dungeon ants and manage to survive. Unfortunately, the gate out of the dungeon was locked, and there was no way out. Soon after, an ant collapsed from exhaustion, and Nomiya realized that they could understand the dungeon ant's language. He got his next top G plan in mind and started talking to an exhausted ant. Following this, he manipulated the ant with his business skills. Nomiya explained to him that he is exploited and that he should expect more from life. Nomiya tried to turn the ant against his boss and asked if he is angry about never getting a day off even though he works hard every day. Nomiya then convinced the ant to work for him, and he was surprised at how easy it was. Everything went according to his plan, and he convinced more and more ants to work for him. Shin and Mutant Rashi wondered what Nomiya was up to because after a short time, he gathered a large group of dungeon ants. Suddenly, Nomiya began to turn the fellow worker ants against their queen. The ants worshipped him like a god, and they became his puppets. Nomiya was a true top G, and he managed to win many ants to his side. Meanwhile, the dungeon ant queen has been informed that their progress on Operation Surface Invasion is at 30%. Suddenly, the worker ants began to protest, and Nomiya talked down to her. She was confused and wondered why a human was here with her ants. He replied that they are comrades fighting for their rights. He also said that she no longer has the right to be a queen. She became angry and increased her power level to crush Nomiya. At the last moment, Rim appeared hungry. Nomiya was surprised to see Rim, and she planned to eat some ants. Nomiya stopped her, and he protected the dungeon ants with a piece of meat. As a result, he was adored by all the ants, and the queen ant fell in love with him. The next morning, Wannabe apologized for causing him problems. Wannabe was surprised that he wasn't angry at all, and he noticed that he was in a good mood. The reason for this was that Nomiya realized that their company needed a new leader. Then he told Wannabe that he started a new group called Black Company. Also, he learned that Nomiya acquired an army of strong monsters. A few weeks later, we see Shia, who is praised by Belza, explain to her that a group of promising rookies are returning from their corporate training retreat. As a result, Shia was asked to put her great skill to use by their side in Demalt. Then we see Nomiya, who was at the corporate training retreat, and they were being trained like soldiers. Sergeant Pig was very strict, and he did not tolerate disobedience from his soldiers. Later, they were in a dungeon, and a powerful Cerberus tried to eat them. Nomiya was angry because his plan to get rich with the help of his army of ants didn't work out. Meanwhile, Sir Barrow's planned to eat Wannabe, but Sergeant Pig eliminated the monster. They survived the first day of boot camp, and Sergeant Pig looked down on them. The next morning, they were lectured by Sergeant Pig, and he said that they were lacking basic stamina. For this reason, he ordered them to run to the top of a mountain. All the workers were hungry, but Sergeant Pig wasn't going to give them anything to eat until they got to the top of the mountain. A few moments later, Nomiya collapsed, and he planned to eat confusion grass. Wannabe warned him in time, and he was annoyed because he was starving. Then they got to the top of the mountain, and they were completely out of breath. They were not allowed to rest, and Sergeant Pig started the mental training. Nomiya briefly lost his concentration, and he was almost killed. So another painful day passed, and all the workers were happy to have survived. In the evening, a co-worker almost lost his mind because of this place, but Wannabe said he liked this place, and Nomiya realized that something was wrong with his friend. The reason for this was that Sergeant Pig used a special disc to brainwash the workers. Then we see Rim, and she was bored with the food in the dungeon. In the morning that followed, Nomiya's group was enslaved again. Then we see Nomiya, and the brainwashing slowly started to take effect. Over the next few days, the workers were successfully hypnotized. Following this, we see Sergeant Pig, who also ordered black mages to cast a powerful brainwashing spell. A few weeks passed, and Nomiya was a puppet without his own will. He was praised by Sergeant Pig, and his co-workers were motivated to work until they die. Then we see Belza giving a speech, and she was enjoying the sight of her loyal, weak-willed employees. She was worried as a goddess, and the workers planned to work in this company forever. In the afternoon, the corporate training retreat was over, and Sergeant Pig sold them overpriced Belza figurines. Later on, someone bumped into Nomiya, and he came to his senses. After that, Wannabe showed up, who bought 3 of the Belza figures, but Nomiya destroyed them. Additionally, he hit him in the face, and Wannabe also came to his senses. Following this, he said that his plan to eat confusion grass to prevent them from being brainwashed was a success. Wannabe was glad he didn't become a tool. Meanwhile, Nomiya was about to take revenge, and he smiled evilly. After this, Sergeant Pig reported that a person had put confusion grass in the mag's food. As a result, they activated a self-destruct button, and the island exploded. The following day, Nomiya and his best friend, Wannabe, were promoted to the Group 3 office. Then Shin appeared, and he ignored Nomiya. After this, they were greeted by Shia, who had been assigned as their superior. Wannabe was surprised to meet Shia, the second coming of the hero. She was flattered to be called a hero and accidentally knocked him out. After Wannabe was taken to the hospital, Shia planned to show Nomiya the new facilities. He was shown the exploration group headquarters and learned about the Mart company where they can buy gear. Nomiya learned that Shia loved the store, but he thought it was stupid to buy gear from this shop. The reason for this was that the gear was made from the demonite they dug up. Shia couldn't tolerate Nomiya bad-mouthing her company, and Nomiya learned that she was just as stupid as SpongeBob SquarePants. Suddenly, Nomiya was carried by Shia, and he couldn't do anything about it. As a result, Nomiya was taken to the 3rd floor of the dungeon. A few moments later, a Heaton cherry appeared, and he learned that it is a strong A-rank monster. At that moment, the monster attacked them, but Shia easily stopped him. Dungeon Ante appeared, and Nomiya watched as Shia launched her attack. She split the monster in half, and Nomiya was shocked by her enormous power. Shortly afterwards, she wondered what Nomiya was doing. She discovered Dungeon Ant A and wondered why Nomiya doesn't kill the monster. Shia concluded that Nomiya is actually a monster too, and he called Whim to save him. After this, Whim appeared, and Shia decided to attack her. Whim was angry and increased her power. She then hit Shia, and she broke her ribs with one punch. Following this, Shia was tied up and told that it is forbidden to work with monsters. A few moments later, Wannabe also showed up, and he was confused. He asked what happened, and Nomiya explained the situation to him. Shia planned to report them, and Wannabe didn't want to lose his job. But Nomiya got a plan, and he made Shia an accomplice. As a result, she couldn't snitch anymore, and Wannabe understood why he should bring a camera. Following this, Shia learned that she is now an employee of Nomiya's company. A month later, Nomiya was broke again because all his money went to feed Whim. Suddenly, loan collectors appeared and took Nomiya to an alley. The leader ordered him to pay back his debts within a month, otherwise he would die. We then see Shia dreaming about his father, who left her to fight against monsters. After that, Shia said that she never wants to be like him. Later, she was motivated to redouble their efforts and clear out the dungeon. She noticed that something was wrong with Nomiya. The reason for this was that he didn't know how to pay back 5 million gold. Shortly afterwards, Shia planned to get them used to dungeon exploration. She explained to Nomiya and Wannabe that they must always be careful and not let their guard down. Then she discovered monsters, and the two were supposed to gain experience fighting monsters. Nomiya was almost killed, but Wannabe saved him. Next, Shia explained to him that they need to collect body parts that have a lot of mana. Suddenly, Nomiya noticed that Wannabe's tail had grown back, and he got an idea. A few days passed, and Beza discussed with the department heads that they are having some problems in the dungeon. Then she remembered about reports that something strange was happening on the 2nd floor. Shortly afterwards, we see Whim, who was watching over several monsters in the dungeon. We then learned that Nomiya built a monster farm on the 2nd floor. He took advantage of the knowledge that monsters have parts of their bodies that grow back. This allowed him to earn a lot of money without having to work hard. Suddenly, an earthquake started, and Nomiya tried to save Shia. We then learned that Belza caused the earthquake to sacrifice Shia as food for a demon. She was sure that her plan will work because the demon was after people with strong magical power. Unfortunately, Shia wasn't dead, and she told Nomiya not to be so loud while she was fighting the monsters. Shortly after, she thanked Nomiya for trying to save her. After that, Nomiya asked her if there was a magic item that would teleport them to the exit. Shia said yes, but she would rather explore the dungeon. Suddenly, a strong monster appeared, and Shia was attacked. She immediately launched a counterattack and was able to injure the enemy. At that moment, she understood that she was being served as food for the demon. After Shia was hit by the demon again, Nomiya was worried about her. They were in big trouble, and Shia said that they won't be able to survive. Following this, he learned that the teleportation item can only transport one person to the surface. Shia wanted to sacrifice her life, but Nomiya had no intention of abandoning her. He stopped her, and he threw the magic item at the demon. We then see Belza scolding Nomiya's former team leader. Suddenly, the demon appeared on the surface, and they were confused. Meanwhile, Shia couldn't believe what Nomiya had done, but he replied that they have a bigger problem because the demon is after Shia. Then we see the demon that was rampaging on the surface. Following this, Nomiya prepared countermeasures to save Shia. The demon was on his way to the second floor of the dungeon, and the mine workers were scared. A few moments later, Nomiya learned that Whim still hadn't been found. Meanwhile, Wannabe was happy that his best friend was unharmed. After that, Nomiya's plan started, and he had set up a trap. He immediately ordered his ant friends to pour cement into the hole. Additionally, Shia cast a spell to dry the cement. Unfortunately, Nomiya's trap didn't work, and he initiated the next plan. He told Shia to rest, and he planned to use her as bait. Following this, the demon was lured to the next trap, and Shia said that an ordinary trap doesn't work. Nomiya ordered his ants to start their mission. At that moment, the demon fell into a large hole full of mon oil. Nomiya then used fire to burn the demon. The demon became angry, and Nomiya was blasted with laser beams. Shia was able to save him in time, and she planned to sacrifice her life. But Nomiya said that she should stop talking such nonsense. Suddenly, Nomiya told her that he knows about her father's story. Then Shia replied why she would sacrifice her life for the Raha company. Suddenly, Nomiya grabbed her breasts, and he was punished for it afterward. After he used his Riz skill, he said that she can't just throw her life away. Nomiya knew what a woman wanted to hear and proved that he got infinite Riz. He told her that Shia should choose her own path, and she finally understood why her father left her. A few moments later, Nomiya initiated his third plan to harm the demon. He wanted to make the fight easier for Shia, and she was happy to have Nomiya at her side. She then attacked the demon with a powerful sword strike and was able to knock out the monster. Nomiya thought they won, but the demon wasn't dead yet. In the last second, Whim appeared, and she saved him in time. However, Whim said that Nomiya is her food, and she began to launch her attack. Whim defeated the powerful demon with a single attack, and Nomiya was shocked by it. After the fight, he thanked Whim and promised to buy her delicious food. Suddenly, Whim said that the demon is not complete, and Nomiya didn't understand anything she said. A few moments later, Nomiya activated a red glowing button, and he fell into a black hole again. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for further updates. See you later.